In this video, I'm going to talk to you about something that happened to a couple out in California, a new scam that's costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if you're not careful, it can happen to you too. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
4 days ago, I got a video request from a viewer, and that request read, "Great video, thank you. Can you make a video on the ACATS scam? That would help a lot of people." Now, I pay a lot of attention to video requests because if one person's asking for it, it could be that a lot of people are thinking about it. And so I did a lot of research on the ACATS scam, and what I found terrified me. I came upon an article that was published last month in the New York Times. Now, picture this. A gentleman by the name of Tien Tran was doing a routine check on his wife's IRA, something that a lot of people do. He was thinking about making a trade. So he did what a lot of people do. He logged into his spouse's Vanguard account to check things out, probably checking the amount of shares they had, the price, etc. And he stumbled upon a crime in progress. And to be really clear on this point, there was nothing spectacular on his mind, no funny intuition. He just wanted to see what was happening in the account because he wanted to make a trade. When he got to the homepage, he saw that nearly half of his wife's savings was gone, $120,000 gone. Tien and I suppose his wife immediately called Vanguard to see what happened, where the funds went, and Vanguard said that his wife had requested the funds be transferred out 4 days earlier to a Merrill account, that's Bank of America, but she hadn't done that. Now, because it was still in process, they were able to stop the transfer of the funds, but had it been a day or so later, it would have been a different story. Eventually, the money was returned to Mrs. Tran. They were able to stop the money from leaving the account to who knows where, but neither Vanguard nor Bank of America were able to give them a satisfactory explanation as to what happened. The obvious questions are, how did the money get transferred out in the first place? Neither one of them had authorized the transfer. How were the criminals able to set up an account at Bank of America Merrill Lynch with Mrs. Tran's information? Aren't there strict know your customer rules that really make it almost impossible to do something like that? And why weren't they notified before the assets were being transferred out? Later that same day, the Trans received a note from Vanguard saying that they had completed the transaction, but up until that point, no communication had happened. As it turns out, the criminals set up the account at Bank of America Merrill using stolen information, and apparently setting up an account online doesn't require a lot. Bank of America said that their identity check process checked out, and the person who set up the account had all of the required information about the Vanguard account. I went online to see how prevalent this issue is, and I was actually surprised at how often this happens. One person said, "I discovered that our taxable account at Vanguard had been slowly pilfered of approximately $100,000 in stocks transferred by ACATS to 2 different brokerage accounts that were not mine over a period of time." Another said, "My Fidelity securities account had been wiped out of thousands of dollars. An ACAT transfer was initiated without my authorization." ACAT stands for Automated Customer Account Transfer Service. And basically, it's the system, the rules around transferring some or all assets from one brokerage firm to another. If you've ever transferred money from one brokerage firm to another, closed down one account, or just transferred part of an account to another account, chances are good that ACATS was involved in that transfer. ACATS is designed to be fast. Before ACATS, some of the shadier firms out there, when they would get the call or the email that their client wanted to switch firms, they would sit on it, maybe for days, maybe for longer, but they'd eventually get to it. But the problem is when you sit on a client's investments and you don't transfer them, markets move. And if you've moved everything into cash and it's just sitting there, market activity means that somebody's going to lose money. So ACATS was designed to be a good thing, to protect the consumer, to make sure that that type of activity didn't happen. And once ACATS was enacted, it required the transfer to happen within 3 days. So no more funny business around holding someone's funds for an extra couple of days, just because. And if you haven't heard of the ACATS scam before, it has exploded in the last several years, particularly in the retirement community. It is 7 times more prevalent now than it was during the pandemic. And one of the things I find most troubling about it is that brokerage firms will provide a guarantee about protecting your money, which looks a lot more like a disclaimer when you actually read the fine print. Let me explain. Fidelity, for example, says, Fidelity will reimburse you for losses from unauthorized activity in your covered accounts occurring through no fault of your own. Covered accounts is just shorthand for the types of accounts you'd probably see in a brokerage firm. Individual accounts, joint accounts, and trust brokerage accounts. Traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP, and simple IRAs. 401ks, 403bs, 457, profit sharing, KEO plans, and other employer plans. And crypto accounts, which is really important. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And again, the language is Fidelity will reimburse you for losses from unauthorized activity in your covered accounts occurring through no fault of your own. Now that sounds pretty reassuring. Through no fault of your own sounds like as long as I don't give somebody my username and password intentionally, that it's not my fault. You could even squint at that and say, well, if somebody gets it through a phishing scheme, well, that might be my fault. But outside of those two instances, it's probably not my fault. But that would be incorrect. The guarantee disappears anytime you share your details, fall for a phishing scheme, or malware gets the information from your computer. In other words, what looks like a guarantee is actually a disclaimer, and it leaves you holding the bag, so to speak. And by the way, I looked at Schwab's as well, and Schwab isn't any better. Schwab says, we offer you a simple guarantee. Schwab will cover losses in any Schwab account due to unauthorized activity. There's no footnote to the guarantee, there's no asterisk, there's no number. But when you go down to the FAQs, in the FAQs, the language becomes very clear what they mean. For the guarantee to be effective, if you share your account information with anyone, we will consider their activities to have been authorized by you. Short, sweet, to the point. Now, do I disagree with their point? Probably not. If someone shares their details, I might have some question about a phishing scheme and malware. That sounds like, well, it sounds like something that insurance should take care of. Still, they might have a point, except for the way that it's phrased, because it gives you a false sense of security. So in order to protect yourself, you need to know how it actually works, because if you know what information they need to get, well, it makes it harder for them to get it. First, they need your basic information, your name, your email address, your telephone number, your social security number, and if it's a joint account, the same information for the other owner of the account. This is what they need more or less to open the destination account, where the securities or the money is going to be sent to. But in order to get the information out of the original account, they need the account number from the original account. So they'll take all the information about you, they'll open the account online so they never need to walk into a branch and talk to anybody. And then if they pass the Know Your Customer test, all they have to do then is to initiate the transfer. And because of the short time for the ACATS rules, the process checks have to be done within 1 day, and the transfer has to be initiated within 3. So what happens when the assets arrive in the destination account? Well, they're quickly transferred into cryptocurrency, where they become untraceable, and they're gone. Now, this is really scary, 7 times more fraud than just 5 years ago, and the target is largely at the retirement community because there are big numbers there. But what can you do about it? How can you protect yourself? First is to use the extra security features that are provided at the brokerage firm. Fidelity, for example, allows customers to lock outgoing transfers and sends mobile alerts for account activity. You can also turn on multi-factor authentication, which adds another layer of protection. Something else you can turn on, but it's not automatic at a lot of firms, you actually need to turn it on, is what's called a pre-transfer alert, where you get notified if a transfer request has been put in. And then there are the things that you can do which might catch it, which is to monitor your accounts regularly. I don't know that that's going to change the game if you don't happen to be looking at it on the right day. But if you look at your account every single day, you're going to notice, for example, a $120,000 drop in your account. But some people don't look at their accounts every day. They might look at them monthly. And so the chances of you catching that type of activity goes way down if you're looking at your account once a month. Next is to secure your mail, your paper brokerage statements in particular. Shred them when you're done with them. In fact, I would recommend that you turn off paper statements altogether. And if you need to look at your account, you can just download the information when you need it. You can download a statement when you need it. And when you're done with that statement, if you print it off, make sure you shred it. If you like this video, check out that video, Gen X's Money Problems Explained. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.